Welcome to Money Decoded, where we break down personal finance, one concept at a time. Let's decode today's topic. Good debt builds wealth. Bad debt destroys it. You've heard that before. Maybe you even believe you understand the difference. But the $50,000 gap between using debt correctly and using it incorrectly is massive, and most people get it completely wrong. Here's what actually matters. Debt isn't good or bad based on what you're buying. It's good or bad based on what that purchase does to your net worth over time. A mortgage can be bad debt. A car loan can be good debt. It depends entirely on the math, the terms, and what happens after you borrow. Today we're breaking down the real difference between good and bad debt using actual numbers, real examples, and the wealth-building framework almost nobody teaches. By the end, you'll understand why some debt makes you richer while other debt keeps you poor, and exactly how to tell which is which before you borrow. Here's what we're covering. The three-part test that instantly reveals whether debt is good or bad, the 5 most common debts and what makes each one good or bad depending on how you use it, and the $50,000 lifetime difference between strategic borrowing and destructive borrowing. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This content is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Please consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any financial decisions. Let's start with the 3-part test. Any debt you're considering must pass all 3 parts to qualify as good debt. Fail even one test and it's bad debt, period. Test 1. Does the debt finance an appreciating asset or income-producing investment? Good debt buys things that increase in value or generate income. Bad debt buys things that decrease in value or produce nothing. A mortgage on a rental property that generates positive cash flow is good debt. A credit card balance from a vacation is bad debt. The rental property increases your net worth through appreciation and rental income. The vacation gives you memories but decreases net worth through interest charges. Test 2. Is the interest rate lower than your expected return on the asset? If you're borrowing at 7% to invest in something returning 5%, that's bad debt even if the underlying asset is good. You're losing 2% annually on the spread. But borrowing at 4% to invest in real estate returning 10% is good debt. You're gaining 6% annually on the spread. This test catches people who think all student loans are automatically good debt. A student loan at 8% interest for a degree leading to a $40,000 job might be bad debt if you could have earned $35,000 without the degree. You're paying 8% interest to gain an extra $5,000 annually in income. That's barely breaking even and might actually cost you money long-term. But 8% interest for a degree leading to an $80,000 job instead of $40,000 is clearly good debt. The return massively exceeds the cost. Test 3. Can you afford the monthly payment from current income without financial stress? Even if debt finances an appreciating asset at a favorable interest rate, it's bad debt if the payment strains your budget. Good debt improves your financial position without threatening your stability. Bad debt might build an asset but simultaneously creates payment pressure that forces other bad financial decisions. Example. You buy a rental property. The numbers look great on paper. But the mortgage payment is so high that when the property sits vacant for 2 months, you have to use credit cards to cover your personal expenses. Now you've converted good debt into a situation creating bad debt. The rental property debt itself passed tests 1 and 2, but it failed test 3. Now let's examine 5 common debts through this framework. Mortgages. Usually good debt but not always. Primary residence at 4% you can comfortably afford passes all 3 tests. Real estate appreciates around 4% annually after inflation. You're building equity through appreciation and principal paydown. Net worth increases. Becomes bad debt when you overpay for house you cannot afford, buy in declining market, or take high interest you cannot refinance. Investment property with positive cash flow is even better. Rent covers mortgage and produces profit. Student loans. Excellent debt or terrible debt depending on degree and career. 6% for engineering degree leading to $75,000 salary is good debt. Over career, that degree might generate $2 million extra in lifetime earnings. Borrowing $50,000 to make $2 million extra is sound. 6% for degree with no career path leading to low pay is bad debt. Cannot discharge in bankruptcy. If degree doesn't produce income, stuck with inescapable debt. Test. Will degree increase lifetime earnings by significantly more than total loan cost? Yes equals good, no equals bad. Car loans. Usually bad debt, occasionally acceptable. Cars depreciate immediately and continuously. 30,000 car at 5% for 6 years costs 34,800 total. Worth maybe 18,000 when finished paying. That's bad debt. Acceptable bad debt if modest and necessary. Reliable used for 12,000 instead of new for 30. 3 years maximum instead of 6. Lowest rate possible. Minimizing wealth destruction. Becomes good debt only if required for income exceeding all costs. Credit cards. Almost always bad debt unless paid in full monthly. 22% interest fails every test. Only good when used for purchases you'd make anyway, paid in full to avoid interest, collecting rewards. Carrying balance becomes bad debt instantly. Personal loans. Bad debt unless for specific wealth building purposes. 10% to consolidate 22% cards is less bad but still bad. Not improving net worth, just slowing bleeding. Loan to start profitable business could be good. Most finance consumption not investment. Wedding, vacation, home improvements not increasing value are bad debt. Now the $50,000 difference. Let me show you with 2 people, same income, different debt strategies, over 20 years. Person A uses only good debt. Takes student loans for an engineering degree, gets $75,000 job. Buys a modest house with a 15-year mortgage at 4%. Buys used reliable cars with cash, no car loans. Never carries credit card balances. After 20 years. Owns home free and clear worth $400,000. Has retirement accounts and savings totaling $300,000. Net worth $700,000. Person B uses bad debt throughout. Takes student loans for a degree leading to $40,000 job. Buys expensive new cars every 5 years with 6-year loans, always underwater. Carries credit card balances averaging $8,000 at 22%. Buys a house but takes 30-year mortgage with minimum down payment. Refinances twice to pull out equity for consumption. After 20 years. Still owes $200,000 on house worth $400,000. Cars worth less than owed. Credit card debt still at $8,000, no savings. Net worth maybe $200,000. The difference is $500,000. Same time frame. The only difference is debt strategy. Person A used debt to acquire appreciating assets and income. Person B used debt to finance consumption and depreciating assets. That $500,000 gap compounds over a lifetime into over $1 million difference by retirement. Here's how to apply this. Before taking on any debt, run the 3-part test. Does this debt finance something that appreciates or produces income? Is the interest rate lower than the expected return? Can I afford the payment comfortably? All 3 must be yes for good debt. If it's bad debt but necessary, minimize damage. Borrow the smallest amount possible. Get the shortest term you can afford. Find the lowest interest rate available. Pay it off as aggressively as possible. If it's bad debt and not necessary, don't take it. Wait and save cash instead. The discipline of delaying gratification and saving for purchases builds wealth. The habit of borrowing for consumption destroys it. Understand that most advertising and consumer culture pushes you toward bad debt constantly. Car commercials sell you on monthly payments, not total cost. Credit cards advertise rewards while hiding interest rates. The entire system is designed to normalize bad debt and make it feel smart or even necessary. Resist that conditioning. Rich people use good debt to acquire appreciating assets and income streams. Poor people use bad debt to finance consumption and depreciating assets. The difference in mindset creates the difference in outcomes. Good debt is a tool for building wealth. Bad debt is a trap that destroys it. The same type of loan can be either depending on what you're buying, the terms, and whether you can afford it. Learn to tell the difference before you sign anything. Next time on Money Decoded, we're covering the debt snowball method in detail. How to pay off $30,000 in 18 months using psychological momentum instead of mathematical optimization. If you're buried in debt and feeling overwhelmed, this strategy might be exactly what you need to finally break free. Good debt builds wealth, bad debt destroys it. The $50,000 difference is in what you buy, what it returns, and whether you can afford it. Choose carefully. And that's how this works. If this helped you understand money better, Subscribe for weekly financial deep dives. Thanks for watching.